Have you ever felt truly afraid, not because of a stranger or some noise in the night, but because of someone you loved, someone you raised, someone you trusted with your whole heart? I never thought that could happen to me, but it did. I'm going to tell you something that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. It was a quiet evening, just like so many others. I was sitting in my old rocking chair, the one my late husband built for me back when we were young and full of dreams. The television was on, playing one of those crime shows I like, and I had a warm cup of chamomile tea in my hands. The house was peaceful. I thought everything was fine, and then I saw those lights, red and blue, flashing against the curtains like some terrible warning. At first, I thought maybe there had been an accident outside. Maybe someone on the street needed help. But then came the knock, loud, firm, a knock that makes your heart stop for a moment. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood there, young men, polite but serious. One of them spoke first. I'll never forget his words. "Ma'am, we received a call. We're here to check on you. There's been a report that you might be confused, that you might be a danger to yourself." For a second, I didn't even understand what he was saying. A danger? To myself, confused. I felt the blood drain from my face. My knees went weak, and then, in a horrible rush, I understood. I knew who had made that call. My daughter. The same daughter I held in my arms when she was born. The same little girl who used to braid my hair and bake cookies with me. The one who, once upon a time, called me her hero. She had done this. She had called the police on me, not because I had done anything wrong, but because I had refused to give her what she wanted. It's hard to put into words what that moment felt like. Betrayal, fear, shame, all mixed together. I stood there, trembling, while those officers stepped inside, looking around my home like I was some kind of criminal. I had done nothing wrong, nothing except say no to my daughter's demand. That night changed everything, and that's why I'm telling you my story, because maybe you need to hear it. Maybe someone out there feels the same fear I felt inside the walls of their own home. And maybe my story will help you find your strength, the way I had to find mine. It all started with what seemed like an ordinary conversation, but deep down, I could feel the tension in her voice. My daughter had been pushing me for weeks, maybe even months, to sign over certain papers that, she said, were for my own good. That day, she called me in the morning. I remember, because I had just finished watering my flowers out on the porch. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. It felt like such a normal, peaceful morning. But the moment I answered that phone, the peace disappeared. Her voice was sharp, cold. "Mom," she said, "we need to take care of this now. You're not getting any younger. It's just practical. Just sign the papers, and we can stop worrying." I asked her, as calmly as I could, "What papers are you talking about?" Of course, I knew. It was the same thing she'd brought up the week before. Documents that would transfer the ownership of my house into her name. She tried to sound sweet at first. "It's just in case something happens to you, Mom. You know how the system is. I don't want the government to take your house." But I could hear the impatience under her words, the way she kept interrupting me when I tried to ask questions. I told her I wasn't comfortable with it, that I needed more time to think, that maybe we should talk to a lawyer together. That's when her voice changed. Suddenly she wasn't sweet anymore. Her tone turned sharp, almost like a stranger's. "You're being stubborn. You're not thinking clearly. If you won't listen to reason, then maybe I'll have to do things my way." Those words sent a chill through me. Her way. What did that mean? I tried to stay calm. I told her again I wasn't signing anything without understanding it fully. That's when she ended the call abruptly. No goodbye, just silence. The rest of the day, I felt that weight on my chest. I kept wondering, what was she planning? My own daughter, the child I rocked to sleep, the girl I cheered for at school plays. Now she was treating me like an obstacle. And by that evening, I would learn exactly what her way meant. Because those flashing lights, that knock at the door, they weren't a coincidence. They were part of her plan. That evening is burned into my memory like a bad dream. I had just finished tidying up the kitchen and was settling down with my knitting, trying to quiet my mind after that tense phone call. The sun had gone down and the house felt calm, but inside me, I was anything but calm. Then I saw it. Those awful red and blue lights flashing against my curtains. At first, I thought maybe it was an accident outside, or maybe the neighbors had some trouble. I peeked out, and to my shock, those lights were right in front of my house. Then came the knock, loud, firm, almost demanding. I stood up, my heart racing. My hands shook as I opened the door. There they were, two uniformed officers. One looked young, barely older than my grandson. The other had that tired, serious look that police get when they've seen too much. The older officer spoke. First, polite but firm, "Ma'am, we're here because we received a call. A family member said you might be in distress, that you might be confused or at risk of harming yourself." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I stammered, trying to find my words. No, I'm fine." Who said that? But I already knew the answer. They insisted they had to come inside. that they needed to check that I was safe. I didn't want to let them in, not because I had anything to hide, but because I felt humiliated, ashamed. But what choice did I have? I opened the door, and they stepped in, looking around as if they expected to find something terrible. My house, my home, felt like it didn't belong to me anymore. After the officers walked through my home, they began asking me questions. Simple at first. My name, my birthday, the date. I answered everything, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. I finally asked them directly, "What exactly did my daughter tell you?" And that's when they explained. She had said I was confused lately, that I talked to people who weren't there, that I'd been seen wandering outside in my nightgown, that I might have forgotten to take my medications. None of it was true, not one bit. I take my medications right on time. I keep a little notebook to mark it down each day. I haven't wandered outside in my nightgown a single time. And as for talking to people who aren't there, well, I might talk to my late husband now and then, but what widow doesn't? I felt so angry, not just because of the lies, but because she had used my age as a weapon. Like being older meant I couldn't be trusted. Like gray hair equals senility. I kept telling the officers the truth. I'm fine. I'm healthy. I see my doctor regularly. You can call him. But still, they looked around, noting things down, as if trying to find proof that I was losing my mind. It was like I wasn't a person to them in that moment. I was just a case they had to check off. And all because my daughter had planted those seeds of doubt. The officers stayed for what felt like forever. They looked through my living room, my kitchen, even glanced into my bedroom. They asked about my medications, so I showed them my little pill organizer and my notebook with the dates and times. I take each one. One of them asked if I had anyone else I could call. I said, I have friends. I have neighbors who check on me. And I have my own doctor who knows my health better than anyone. They seemed to soften a bit at that. The younger one, especially. I think he saw that I wasn't some confused old woman. He said quietly, "Ma'am, I don't see anything here that concerns me, but we still have to file a report, just so it's on record that we came out." And then they left, just like that. But I stood there for a long time after they were gone, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I kept thinking, this is my home, my safe place, and now it felt violated, all because of lies. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. I kept replaying it all in my head. The knock at the door, the look in the officer's eyes, and worst of all, the realization that my daughter had set it all in motion. The next morning, I woke up hoping it had all been just a nightmare. But no, the uneasy feeling was still there, heavy like a stone in my chest. I made my tea, sat by the window, and tried to calm myself. Then I heard the sound of the gate. I looked out and saw her, my daughter, striding up the walkway like she owned the place. There was no warmth in her eyes, no smile. She didn't knock. She let herself in, using the key I had given her long ago, back when I still trusted her fully. She walked in and said, "Well, Mom, have you learned your lesson?" I stared at her, shocked. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She crossed her arms and smirked. "You see how easy it is? When you don't cooperate, things happen. The police came, didn't they? You could have avoided all this if you just signed the papers." I couldn't believe it. My own daughter, the girl I'd given everything to, was threatening me, manipulating me. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I told her, as calmly as I could, "You need to leave. I need time to think." She shook her head. "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. This is only the beginning if you keep being stubborn." And then she left, slamming the door behind her. The house felt so empty after she was gone, but at least the walls weren't echoing with her threats anymore. I sat there for a long time, trying to make sense of it all. How had we come to this? That night, after she left and the house went quiet, I sat in my chair for a long, long time. The weight of everything that had happened was crushing me. The police visit, the threats, the way my own daughter spoke to me. It all kept playing over and over in my head. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking, what's next? What if she calls them again? What if next time she finds a way to take my home? By morning, I knew I couldn't just sit and hope things would get better. I had to do something. I had to protect myself, even if it broke my heart. So I picked up the phone and called a lawyer. Not someone from the phone book, but a lawyer a friend at church had recommended. When I spoke to him, I told him everything about my daughter, pressuring me to sign papers, about the police showing up, about the fear I felt in my own home. He listened kindly. He didn't make me feel foolish or old. He said, "You're smart to take action now. Let's make sure you're safe." Together, we came up with a plan. I changed the locks on all my doors. I didn't want to, but I had to. I couldn't risk her walking in uninvited again. I updated my will, and I made sure my power of attorney was in the hands of someone I truly trust, not my daughter. I even spoke with my doctor and asked him to write a letter confirming that I am of sound mind. He understood. He said, "It's good you're doing this. You're protecting your rights." And just to be safe, I started keeping a little video diary. Each day, I'd record a bit of my routine, me taking my pills at the right times, cooking my meals, reading my books, doing my crossword puzzles. I wanted there to be no doubt about my mental health. It was hard to do all of this, every step. Felt like admitting that my relationship with my daughter was broken. But I had no choice. I needed to stand up for myself. I realized something important. Sometimes, protecting your peace means making tough decisions. And that's exactly what I was doing after I made those changes. The new locks, the updated will, the video diary. My house felt safer. But my heart felt heavier than ever. You see, I never imagined I'd have to protect myself from my own daughter, the little girl I once rocked to sleep, the child I taught to bake cookies, the teenager I stayed up all night waiting for. She had been my world for so long, and now she had become a source of fear. At first, after I took those steps, I kept hoping she would realize how wrong she'd been, that she'd come to me with tears in her eyes, saying she was sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt me. I kept watching out the window, half expecting her to come up the walk and ring the bell, the way she used to, before things went so bad. But days passed, then weeks, and all I heard was silence. Sometimes, late at night, I would sit by the window and think back. I'd remember her laugh when she was a little girl, how she used to hold my hand so tight at the grocery store. I'd think about holidays we shared, birthday parties, the times we danced in the living room just because a good song came on the radio. And I'd wonder, where did it all go wrong? I missed her so much it hurt, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't open that door. Not yet. Not when she'd tried to scare me, to trick me, to take what was mine. Sometimes I'd get angry. I'd think, how dare she, after all I've done for her? Other times, I'd feel nothing but sadness, a deep, aching sadness that's hard to put into words. There were mornings I woke up and for just a second, I forgot all that had happened. And then it would hit me like a wave. The distance between US wasn't just miles or locked doors. It was trust, broken in pieces. Friends would ask, "Have you heard from her?" And I'd just shake my head. I couldn't talk about it without my voice cracking. The truth is, choosing distance from someone you love, even when they've hurt you, feels like losing a piece of yourself. But I kept reminding myself I had to do this for my safety, for my peace of mind. And maybe one day things will change. Maybe one day she'll see the harm she caused. But until then, I have to protect what little peace I have left. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that getting older doesn't mean you have to give up your voice. It doesn't mean you have to let people, even people you love, take advantage of you For a long time, I thought being a mother meant always forgiving, always giving second chances, always keeping the door open. And I still believe in kindness. I still believe in love. But I've also learned that kindness doesn't mean letting yourself be hurt over and over again. I want to speak now to anyone who might be listening, someone who feels the way I did. Maybe you're a grandmother, maybe you're a grandfather, maybe you're just someone who feels powerless in your own home. Please hear me when I say this. You are not powerless. There are people who will listen to you. There are lawyers, doctors, neighbors, even strangers who will stand up for you if you just take that first brave step and speak. And there are ways to protect yourself, ways that don't mean you have to stop loving your family, but that let you hold on to your dignity and your rights. I never wanted to tell this story. I never imagined I'd have to. But keeping it inside wasn't helping me, and it might not help you either. That's why I'm sharing it, so that maybe, just maybe, someone out there will hear it and find the courage to take action for themselves. Being older doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've lived, you've learned, and you have the right to protect the life you've built. Don't let anyone take that from you. I still hope, deep down, that my daughter and I can heal one day. That's what a mother's heart wants. But until that day comes, if it ever does, I will keep standing strong. I will keep protecting myself. And I hope you will too, because at the end of the day, your peace, your safety, and your truth, they matter. They matter more than anything